I have H.P. Lovecraft's personal journal. Well, not exactly. Hi, I'm Lucille Lovisi, and today I want to show you another one of my junk journals. This one, I'm going to ask you to imagine that I really did find H.P. Lovecraft's personal journal. So let's take a look at what he has inside. There's lots of stuff. We open it up, and we open it up. And we see, what does he have in here? Oh, let's take a look. Oh, he has a business card from his wife. She was soon-to-be wife, Sonia Green. She was a hat salesman. He's got Clark Ashton Smith's address. And this looks like a bookmark for Argosy magazine. Ah. Let's see. This is book of stamps. Yeah, he wrote a lot of letters, so he would have a book of stamps. That makes sense. Let's see, what do we have in here? Oh yeah, so H.P. Lovecraft fans would know that before he was a writer, he was an amateur astronomer. And he wanted to be an astronomer professionally. But unfortunately, he was not as proficient enough in math and couldn't get certified to graduate high school in math. So he squashed that dream. But he never stopped looking toward the heavens. And he made lots of observations. And this is my replica of his actual notepad. And the cool thing is that he witnessed Halley's Comet. He observed it and he recorded it. And I've seen records of actual, official projections of where the comet was. And he was spot on with how he saw it, how he observed it. And this is, he wrote, "Only poetry or madness could do justice to the noises." It's pretty cool. Let's see what else. Some newspaper, Providence newspaper articles. Here's more of his astronomy stuff. So he was so into it that he had his own astronomical society. And he had ads in Providence where he met people for face-to-face meetings, but he also corresponded with them. So there's a lot of history there with astronomy. Some looks like he went to a Yankee game in 1927. Here's the ticket stub. Here's another illustration of a small spyglass that he wanted. His mother actually bought him that. And that was early. That was, what did that say, 1909 through 1913. So he was a young Lovecraft at that time. Here's a cigarette card with poetry, because he was a poet. What do we have here? Just more addresses. August Derluth. More books, more bookmarks. Let's see what we have in here. And this looks like a list of his characters. Here's an illustration of Samuel Loveman that Lovecraft did. He was a skilled artist in his own right. There's some writings and things in here. This is pretty cool. Let's see what is this? Looks like a window. You open it up. It's a stanza in the poem, A Window.
So cool.
Here we have a letter to Howard Lovecraft from Dr. I.M. Howard.
Robert E. Howard's father.
Robert E. Howard's father. Here's a letter from Dr. Howard explaining the circumstance of Howard's death. That must have been a blow to H.P. They were, fierce friends, and some would say maybe brothers from another mother. Here's a cool picture of H.P.
That's actually Lovecraft.
That's Lovecraft with the Barlows in Florida. Yeah, and it's funny, when I was researching all this stuff, like a lot of things that I thought or believed about Lovecraft turned out to be completely false. And for instance, is that I believed that he was a recluse, afraid of everything. While he did have many fears, he was not a recluse. He went everywhere. If you wrote him and invited him, he would come. They say he answered every letter that someone sent to him. He had a strong circle of friends that were really tight and close-knit. He traveled. He went to Canada, Florida, New York, Vermont, Massachusetts. This dude, I mean, it was all over. This is a Christmas card.
And he was well liked and respected.
Loved and respected. And wherever he went, he appeared in a newspaper because he was also well known as a weird writer at that time. Robert E. Howard sent out Christmas cards, and this is not one of them. This is I made it up, but this is the sentiment that he would have. It just said best wishes for a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and he would just initial it REH, and I'm sure that Lovecraft had one as well, and he would have kept it. Here I gave him a first prize in amateur press. He was involved in everything. He was involved in poetry, amateur press, everything you can imagine. There's a lot of tucks here, and there's like some sentiments and things that he wrote. A lot of quotes from him. Some things that he might have had, which is like a tarot card of the Hanged Man. And here's pretty cool. This is an illustration that looks like Clark Ashton Smith sent to him. That's pretty cool. See, what is this? Okay, this I made up also. This is I drew the letterhead for Weird Tales based on some of the previous rejection letters that I've seen from Farnsworth Wright, and I sent a rejection letter to Lovecraft just because I wanted to document the stories that this guy rejected, which are some of his Lovecraft's most famous and loved works, which is The Shadow over Innsmouth, At the Mountains of Madness, The Call of Cthulhu, and he rejected all of those, and he asks for maybe a rewrite in Cthulhu, and I put that in because he did eventually publish it. And I want to call your attention to here where it says Howard Philip Lovecraft. We know it's Phillips. That's my subliminal shot at Farnsworth Wright's competence. So that this guy, he rejected the stories. He didn't even know his name.
Robert E. Howard's stories too.
Yeah.
Conan stories and all kinds, Yeah.
He
was a rejecter.
There's postcards throughout this that because Lovecraft he always was sending letters and things. And let's see, what do we have in here? Oh, we have his hanky, his monogrammed hanky. And what's this? Oh, a Yule Hara little poem. Pretty cool.
It's quite amazing.
Pretty cool. There's also like other little snippets of letters and things that he wrote. Now, this is a bookmark that you can use, but it says Orton's General Store and the Brattleboro Reformer. It's in Vermont. Lovecraft went to Vermont. He met these people, and they invited him to go to their grandfather's farm, who had a general store on it, Orton's General Store. And he went, and he stayed there for a while. He was in the newspaper, the Brattleboro Reformer, where they were like, there's a weird writer among us, and it was a big hullabaloo in Vermont at the time.
They didn't call him a Weird Tales writer.
No, just a weird writer. Yeah. The Orton's General Store still exists, but it's a company we now know as the Vermont Country Store. And it's still available. And there's a Lovecraftian tie that I never knew of with the Vermont Country Store. Okay, these are two postcards. One, this is based on the truth. This is from Walter Coates. And he's soliciting a submission for the anniversary issue of Driftwind. Driftwind was a Vermont-based amateur poetry press at which Lovecraft had strong ties with. He was an affiliate editor and also submitted some poetry to them.
We did an earlier video on them.
We did. And Lovecraft did submit an issue for their April anniversary issue, and that's there. And this one I totally made up. It's a vintage Providence postcard, and it's actually a letter dated July of 1936. Now we know that Lovecraft, Robert E. Howard committed suicide in June, the middle of June, and so probably he wouldn't have gotten the notice His father says in his letter that it took a couple of weeks for him to send the letter. So it would have been about the beginning of July when he found out that Howard was no longer alive. And in this postcard, I'm having Lovecraft say he's finally going to make a trip to Cross Plains to visit him. And because he summered in Florida. Excuse me, I'm getting a little choked up because it's sad to think about that, the two men wanted to meet and they never had an opportunity to do that. And that
Clark Ashton Smith too, all the three of them were.
To think that he might have finally have gone, since he started going to Florida, pass through Cross Plains, Texas and meet him. And that never happened. And that card was never sent because obviously he got notified. But he still kept it for sentimental reasons in my imaginary Lovecraft world. This is a reproduction of his actual last will and testament. So it's not his will, it's word for word what it said. I just typed it out. So it's not like an actual copy, but it is, and it's interesting to read. Now let's see what we have over here. Okay, the first thing you see is this little black bag here. Let's see what we have.
What have we?
We have a little, looks like a little HLS. What is that? Oh, it's Howard and Sonia Lovecraft. It's a little locket with their pictures. And here we have a little glass bottle with Sonia's hair that he kept as a memento. Oh, that's so sweet.
So romantic.
He was a romantic at heart. Okay, now this is actually Notes on At the Mountains of Madness. I purchased a copy of this from the Historical Society and tried to reconstruct it for this journal. So this is a letter from the the news from the Century Company, and he opened it up and he has notes that he wrote all over it. It's insane. I used to work at the post office, and every once in a while we would see letters, envelopes that had writing like this all over them, and we were like, what insane person wrote like this? And maybe there was a descendant of Howard Lovecraft, because it looked just like that. This is interesting. This is an actual page from an Argosy magazine that's in here, and it has a note. I read that the way H.P. Lovecraft got started in the pulps was that he used to read Argosy magazine, and he started trolling this guy, Fred Jackson. He hated his stuff, like his writing. He must have been in every issue or close to every issue, and Lovecraft could not tolerate him. And he started writing letters to the editor, in verse, of how bad this guy was. And the editor, after reading them for a while, offered him a job, or offered him the opportunity to send a submission in. And that's really how he started writing. That's pretty funny. What's this? Oh, what is this? Oh, his identification, his travel identification card for H.P. Lovecraft. Pretty cool. And here's all the ticket stubs of some of the places that he went to. This guy, I tell you, he traveled a lot.
Quite a bit.
Quite a
people
bit.
Don't realize.
And here we have a cabinet card of the young H.P. with his mother and his father. Look at the little baby H.P. Little cabinet card.
Yeah.
That's
Where's
so
Cthulhu?
cool. And this I added in because I thought this was interesting. This is it's divorce papers. It's not his divorce papers. I totally made them up. But the reason why I included this is because, while I read that, I believed that he was only married for like a year or two and it didn't work out, and, he wasn't good with women and all this kind of stuff. And it was actually not true. He was very much in love with his wife, and she was very much in love with him. It was financial reasons that caused them to split, and Howard's fear of not being secure in his living arrangements. He really was hopelessly unemployable in as far as anything other than writing, and he had no desire to do anything other than writing. So some of it was his own fault. But when Sonia was a go-getter, she was a businesswoman, she was not afraid or fearful of going to new places and trying new things, and Lovecraft was. And when she finally had to leave their home to take a job in Chicago, Lovecraft was he was too afraid to leave and go with her. So she supported him actually for a while in Brooklyn. And then he wound up going back home to Rhode Island to live with his aunts. But the interesting thing is that although Sonia did file divorce papers, Lovecraft never signed them.
She remarried, right?
She remarried, but she was still married to Lovecraft. And he was a married man until he died. He was never divorced. And he actually, there's letters of him writing to her saying that they should just stay married, just even living apart and whatever. And she's like, I don't want that kind of marriage, you know. We're either going to be together or we're not going to be married. And he got his wish actually, because he remains married and he still corresponded with her throughout the years. And I think that's like, so it's sad and sweet in a way. It's because he
loved her very much.
He loved her, and he didn't
each
want to
other.
get divorced.
Yeah.
And even though he wasn't living with her, he still, I'm sure in his own head, considered himself a married man. He was technically, and that gave him some solace or some, you know, a little bit of comfort, I guess, that he wasn't a bachelor. He was a married man and whatever. So anyway, that's my Lovecraft journal. I hope you enjoyed it, and I shanghaied Gary's channel for long enough, and I'll see you next time. Well, next time you see Gary. Thanks.